All right, let's dive into this explainer and transform the often overwhelming corporate risk management procedure into a powerful, actionable toolkit to protect your projects. If you've ever looked at a massive risk manual and felt your eyes just kind of glaze over, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. But hidden inside those dense documents is a lifeline. So today, we're going to decode that procedure, turning theoretical bureaucracy into a dynamic shield that keeps your work on track no matter what gets thrown your way.
So let's just ask the tough question up front to spark a little healthy urgency. Seriously, think about it. What happens when your key supplier goes bankrupt overnight? Or what happens when a massive storm floods your primary warehouse? Projects fail when we ignore the what-ifs. Pretending everything is going to go perfectly is an optimism, right? It's a recipe for disaster. This whole explainer is about shifting from a reactive, panic-driven mode into a proactive stance of absolute control.
Here's our game plan for today. We'll be moving through 5 key areas. First, the anatomy of risk. Second, spotting the danger. Third, scoring the threat. Fourth, creating a battle plan. And finally, monitoring the horizon.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, the anatomy of risk. Before we can actively defeat a threat, we have to understand the fundamental process of how to handle it.
According to our source material, risk management isn't just a one-off meeting. It's a 4-step engine. It goes like this. You identify, assess, respond, and track. It's really that simple. But if you skip a step, say you assess a risk but never actually track its resolution, well, the whole engine stalls out.
Moving right along to Section 2, spotting the danger. This first critical phase is all about brainstorming everything that could possibly derail your project well before you've spent a single dollar.
This is where we get really specific. We have to recognize concrete what-ifs pulled directly from our source material. Notice how detailed these are. We aren't just vaguely saying, oh, IT issues. We're specifically saying database software arrives late. We aren't just saying staffing problems. We're explicitly acknowledging that key people suddenly leave. The more specific you are when spotting the danger, the better you can actually prepare for it.
Mapping these scenarios out forces us to confront our vulnerabilities with immediate, desperate contingencies. For example, if your primary IT hardware fails and you have no backup generator, the source's contingency plan is literally to use paper reports for 5 days. I mean, that sounds like an absolute corporate nightmare, right? But having that gritty, realistic fallback drafted right now is infinitely better than experiencing total paralysis when the screens inevitably go dark.
All right, on to Section 3, scoring the threat. Now that we've spotted the danger, we need to bring in the math. Why? Because you simply don't have the time or the budget to treat every single risk with the exact same intensity. We have to weigh these things out. We contrast a minor daily annoyance, like a small software bug, against a catastrophic event, like, say, a direct asteroid strike on your facility. Scoring allows us to objectively weigh these completely different scenarios against one another so we know where to focus.
This anchors our entire assessment strategy, breaking the risk calculation down into 3 foolproof, actionable steps. First, gauge the consequence. Does it just cause a minor delay, or is it a catastrophic safety issue? Second, gauge the likelihood. Is it a once-in-a-decade event or a daily occurrence? And third, you simply cross-reference those 2 ratings to calculate your ultimate risk score.
And when you multiply a Category 5 probability by a Category 5 impact, you get this terrifying number, 25. This is the absolute peak of the risk rating system outlined in our source data.
You see, a score of 25 isn't just a metric on a spreadsheet. It's a blaring red siren demanding immediate intervention. If your risk calculation lands anywhere between 15 and 25, the procedure clearly dictates you don't just file it away for later, you elevate it. This is literally a showstopper. Senior management must get involved immediately because the project's very survival is on the line.
And to keep things clear, this simplified risk matrix creates a universal visual language for your whole team. You really don't need a PhD in statistics to understand it. Red means showstopper, yellow is proceed with caution, and green is no concern. If a risk lands in the red zone, everybody instantly knows that resources must be deployed to mitigate it right away. No debate needed.
Which brings us to Section 4, creating a battle plan. Because once we have our scores, we transition from just analyzing the threat to actually fighting it. Identifying and scoring risks doesn't solve anything on its own. We need a solid response plan.
This is where we need to translate those heavy corporate nouns from the source material into active verbs. We need to realize that planning is really about stopping the bleed. If the strategic risk is defined as performance deterioration, the response isn't just to sit around and worry about it. The active response strategy is to establish a detailed understanding of the market. You have to assign clear, actionable treatments to actually mitigate the impact.
Now, the risk register becomes your literal battle plan. Notice the structure here. We assign specific names to highly precise triggers and responses. We don't just list a vague issue like system freezing. We say that when the system is frozen for 1 hour, that is the trigger, Louise is the owner, and her immediate action is to reinstall the operating system. It's absolute clarity, no confusion. When the trigger hits, the assigned owner steps up and executes the plan.
And finally, Section 5, Monitoring the Horizon. Our final stage recognizes a fundamental truth. Risks are living things. They constantly change and evolve as your project progresses. A risk that was absolutely critical in month 1 might be a total non-issue by month 4, while completely new threats will inevitably emerge. By consistently tracking our data month over month, we can actually watch how severity rankings shrink. For instance, a risk like inadequate planning moves from a severity ranking of 2 down to 1 this month. Poor scope drops from a 4 down to a 2. This is the proof right here that actively managing risks literally neutralizes them over time.
And these are the specific, active resolutions taken this month to physically drive those numbers down. To fix that poor scope risk, the team didn't just hope for the best. They actively held meetings with the project customer to clarify the details. To fix a massive leadership vacuum, they immediately assigned a new project manager after the old one abruptly quit. Tracking risk isn't about just passively watching the dials. It's about getting your hands dirty and pulling the levers to fix the problem.
Because ultimately, this is our goal right here. This is the exact definition of project success according to the source material when risk is managed properly. It's the green zone. It means we saw the threats coming, we quantified their impact, we built our battle plans, and we navigated the ship safely into port.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought from our contingency planning, just to see if you are truly prepared for the unexpected horizon. Take a really hard look at your current projects. If your most critical supplier vanished today, how long could your project survive? Do you know your triggers? Do you know your owners? Remember, risk isn't something to fear. It's just a set of variables waiting to be managed. Get out there and start building your battle plan.